Hello everybody, so it is day 6. I've turned in my apothecary cards to get my mage blood. Took me 2 divines to get to 4 flasks and here we are. So hope you enjoyed that little loot compilation at the start. I wish I could get the footage where I dropped my ashes, but I just forgot to record it or I should have played it. Yeah, so this is after this is gonna be a relatively long video. It's not really meant to be a guide, but it's more of like the thought process and the things that I did in order to earn, this amount of currency as a solo player without any exploits, divine printing. But yeah, I think I've done pretty well for myself, getting it pretty early on. So hope that the stuff that I say in the PowerPoint that's coming is gonna be useful to some of you for making currency. And yeah, if you are watching this at night, once again, avert your eyes. I don't want you to get flashbang. Okay, I'll see you. Alright, so for day 1, I started off with a lightning arrow ballista totem, since it got buffed and I wanted to start a ranger so that I didn't have to level another character as I always do later on in the league. So this is also the first time where I didn't swap to another build on like day 2 or 3. I decided to just hang on for the entire journey. Alright, so yep, lightning arrow ballista totem raider at the start. Surprisingly, the leveling was quite smooth. I finished the campaign in 5 hours, which is about right for someone who doesn't practice the campaign and do league start practice and all that. I think it's pretty fast. Usually I take like maybe 6 hours, but this time was slightly faster. On day 1, I think it's quite standard. I just mapped for early completion, and I started specking my Atlas tree for essences because it's just a good thing to do. So my currency strategy, like I said, was low tier maps for essences. I didn't stay in wide maps. I was just mainly focused on completing the Atlas while doing essences. Shrieking essences of dread were quite expensive at the beginning, at 8 chaos. This is kind of a thing where the earlier you get to maps, the earlier you start doing these encounters, the higher the prices are. But it also comes, what do you call it? Most people may not be able to afford these as well. So even though things are worth money, it may not sell at that price, if you get what I mean. Yeah. So elemental damage essences were also quite expensive if I remember correctly. They were about 5 chaos each, and at league start, that's pretty expensive. But here's the problem, right? So the damage was it was alright. The lightning arrow ballista totem was alright, but essences were pretty tanky and they hurt pretty bad. So it didn't feel too great. The leveling was quite smooth, but uh, when it came to essences and the rares, crucible mobs, things like that, it was just not good. And talking about crucible, yeah, I did not touch that at all. It was way too difficult. I think if you charged up a little bit, it was fine, but in general, I didn't really see much point except for maybe unlocking the node for like any ally weapon upgrade that I have. So in terms of upgrades for day one, I just wanted to get my character stronger. Um, so like I said, I got myself a better elemental bow. So I mostly use my own essences. I did not buy any essences from anyone. I used shrieking essences because deafening was quite expensive. So I sold all my deafening and used shrieking essences on a bow. I also had it on my filter to show any bows that drop on the floor, and then I can ID them for to see if there was any upgrades. So same thing for my quiver. I can't remember what's the name of that quiver, but it's the one that gave you damage per stat, and it was actually relatively expensive at the beginning. It was like double-digit chaos. Uh, the main thing was I did not want to get it too early because I know that it's a common drop, or poise prism, yeah, but I know that it's a relatively common drop, so it will eventually go down in price. So I did not really focus on that. Taming was also relatively expensive. It was around 60 to 70 chaos if I'm not wrong, and it was, I mean, for a day one, like 60, 70 chaos, that's pretty expensive. So just some notes, because I usually level a spell-based build. So this is the first time where I did not actually go for Tabula for like a 6 link. And I was actually doing pretty okay on a 4 link for a while. I can't remember if I think I eventually upgraded to a 5 link. But yeah, that was day one. Uh, and yeah, so on day one, I still managed to hit red maps. This is pretty standard for like people who have played this game for a while, and kind of no life leak start. So yeah, I hit red maps. This is where it really hurts. The essences get really, I think they get quite difficult. So I was just complaining a lot on how squishy my character is, and how messed up essences were. Yeah. So I used all my currency to upgrade the character and to complete all my maps. And I bought my first 2 Voidstone carries from TFT. I probably should have, what you call it, tried them myself, but after fighting those essences, I was like, okay, I do not have enough damage for this, so I just decided to get carries on TFT for like 40 chaos or 20, either 20 or 40 chaos, and then to help me carry my Searing Exarch and Eater of Worlds. So here's the first stroke of luck of the league. I actually managed to drop ashes from Eater of Worlds, which is quite insane. I think that's the first time it's ever happened to me. So there was two things that I could do, right? I could either keep ashes because it will go up in price in the coming days, or I could sell it and upgrade my character. So this is the part where I was contemplating, do I want to keep it? It's probably going to double in price or something, or do I want to sell it and then, get more character power first? So in the end, I decided, okay, let's try something else. Like normally I would have held it and sold it later on, but for this league itself, I decided, okay, I'm just going to sell it 6 divines early on, get myself an inspired learning, and start farming content like as fast as I can. So that was pretty much day one. So day two, um, I don't think, no, day two is definitely not white and yellow maps. I'm gonna, give me a sec. There we go. It is not white and yellow maps. Day two was red maps, mostly progression in red maps. Okay, so I finished up most of my atlas. I bought the missing maps that I had because in hindsight, I probably should have done that instead of trying to get the maps to drop myself because it's just more efficient that way. But you know what? It's fine. So after selling the ashes, I got inspired learning, and I wanted to farm Legion because I think it's a bit hard to break the entire Legion and do the whole thing without having inspired learning, at least on this current build. One thing that I want to mention is that your early game strategy should probably be based off what type of character you have. So this is meant to be a fast mapper, right? As all ranges are. So I wanted to do Legion. So the things that I would imagine that I would need for Legion is like Headhunter, Inspired Learning, these kind of things to make the whole farming strategy a lot easier. So day two, I mainly focus on Legion and Red Altar farming. So hitting Red Altars early on is exceptionally good because you drop Raw Chaos. Like Raw Chaos is pretty strong early on. You can get your Divines at, you can imagine if you get the Chaos Altar, you drop like 30 Chaos, you drop some Regrets, drop some Awakened Sextons, like all those are straight pure currencies that people do want, so they sell very fast. Um, I did hold on to Regrets, if I'm not wrong, because I feel like this is around the time where people start swapping. So I think I bought regrets on day one at the end of the day, and then I resold them on day two for almost like 50 or 70% of the price. Okay, so the thing about Legion is it drops Geomancer incubators, which give a 6 link. So those are worth a lot of money at the start, which is why I wanted to do Legion this time. Um, in general, the emblems itself, I don't think they're worth a lot of money. They were like 0.6 divines a set. And like without your compasses and all that, I didn't really get too many emblems, I think. So it was mostly raw currency that was dropping from Legion and Geomancer incubators, as well as altars, that gave me most of my currency. So Sextant rolling is a what you call it? If you set up and block your certain compasses, you can in a way boost your chances of getting the good um, compasses, right? Like sextant rolling in general. So I was like thinking, okay, instead of selling the sextants, they were like 1 chaos each. Why not just use them for myself, right? Because you'll probably make profit if sextants are only 1 chaos each at the start. So I did buy sextants on day two and started rolling them myself. But the thing is, the sextants may be worth money, but no one is actually buying them at the start because no one has like a proper atlas strategy going on, except for maybe like the really fast people or like big groups. So in general, it was not exactly very great. TFT also had this weird thing where you couldn't really post like your listings on the channel. You had to go through like PoE stack and link your Discord and all that. So it was just a bit messed up at the beginning. So yeah, I thought rolling sessions would be making money, but it was not exactly very good, and the sales are really slow. So that was in a way a bad investment. But it was not that bad of an investment, which I'll get on to later. So in terms of character upgrades, I again was focusing on upgrading my character. So I got like a +2 projectile, artillery ballista helmet. I got myself a 6 link chest, and got my last two void stones for full T16 maps, because you want to be able to sustain a map to run your strategy, right? So for me it was Dunes, Legion Dunes. The thing is Dunes drops Imperial Legacy, and since it is a bow league, right, like it's hyped up, so the Imperial Legacy cards actually go for 3 chaos each, if I'm not wrong, on day 2, and Dunes has that as a natural drop. So I was selling sets of what do you call it? Sets of these. In fact, I think I just traded in the cards for the 6 link bows, and I was just selling the 6 link bows on their own. So this actually gave a reasonable amount of money together with the Geomancer incubators from Legion. So other things was like Ornate incubators, Diviner incubators. I used all this on day 2, and it actually dropped me a Divine. And yeah, that's I think mostly what I did on day 2. I did not really save any of my money. I was broke at almost all times. I could just have enough money to buy a Rusted Legion Scarab, and ran it like Elk and Go. That's it. Okay, so on day 3, this is when I was like, should I stay with Lightning Arrow, or should I swap my character to something else? Because it just didn't, even though Inspire Learning did help with Legion, it didn't feel super strong. So I decided to try and swap to Tornado Shot. So this is where I spent a lot of money upgrading my gear. So I think I previously mentioned that day 2 I spent all my money, but it was mostly like in between day 2 and day 3. I spent a lot of my money on swapping my gear, upgrading to Omni. So Omni on day 3 was around 15 divines, if I'm not wrong. So I got that pretty early on. From all the currency that I made previously. I also swapped to High Risk Aya, which was only about 3 divines. I 6-linked my bow. This was very, very sketchy because I had almost no money left when I 6-linked the bow. I had like 50, 100 plus chaos left, I think, after I spent all my divines and fusings on the bow. But luckily, I managed to 6-link that. I also swapped my gear around to implement the Rage tag, which is Calm's Spirit, gloves, and the Vol's Vision helmet. Um, and yeah, I think uh, can't remember whether I swapped back to Lightning Arrow at the end of day 3, because I did post the day 3 Lightning Arrow Tornado Short Ranger update video, but if I'm not wrong, at the end of the day I did swap back, or start of day 4, I swapped back to Lightning Arrow because of Vengeance Cascade. And it just so happened that, Omni, I already swapped all my gear. So the transition was literally just anointing Vengeance Cascade and swapping it back to Lightning Arrow. Alright, so day 3, my strategy was, in the end, it was still Legion, but now I implemented Abyss as well, as I got. Yeah, I implemented Abyss as well. So the main thing was Stygian Vices were 12 to 15 chaos, as it goes down in price as the day went on. And then the Lich fight was almost a divine each. Yeah, they were pretty expensive. What I sold for like 95C and divines were like 100-ish, about 100. Yeah, and then Darkness and Throne was still pretty expensive. Depending on the rolls, it was sold for 40 to 70 chaos. Sexton rolling, I still did this and I don't think it was worth it still. Yeah. Okay, so day 4 was when I started thinking of other strategies because Legion, while it was good early on, like everything was just I didn't actually know what I was getting from Legion. It was kind of all over the place. So I wanted to have something where I know what I'm actually getting out of it. So I noticed on trade side, this is also because I was rolling the sextants myself. So I was looking at the runic monster duplicator, which usually goes for around 80 chaos, but it was only 30 chaos at the time, so it was actually really cheap. So I bought a few of them to test out expedition, and then I used gilded expedition as well. So I didn't run too many of these because I didn't want to go all in into the strategy yet. So I was mostly just testing it out. So I did in the end go for Cemetery Expedition Elk and Go and Logbook. So the question that people ask is like, should I do logbooks or should I sell the logbooks? For me, it just depends on the market. For some reason, in the middle of the day, like the Black Scythe logbooks went up in price to like 55C out of nowhere. Like it was 30 to 35, 40 chaos ish, and then suddenly it became 55C. I was like, what the hell? Why is this so expensive now? So that's the whole reason why I made that video on farming cemetery maps for logbooks instead. Yeah, but I did do logbook farming as always. Like I have been doing logbook farming almost every league because yeah, it's a good strat that can't go wrong, right? And this league is no exception. So yes, it really just depends on the market whether you should do map expedition or whether you should do logbooks. And also, when you are doing logbooks, although you do make more money, you have to go through a lot more steps, right? You have to do the logbooks, use blast stop on the implicits, do the logbooks itself, haggle with Tujen, and then convert all those bubblegum currency into actual chaos. So yes, I think it really depends on what you want. When you sell the logbook, you just get your money straight up, and that's profit, right? You sell your reroll currencies, you get money. But definitely, if you do logbooks, it will be profitable. Also, Knights of the Sun, for some reason, it became 80 chaos a piece, which is so bizarre to me. So I actually managed to sell a few of them at 80 chaos, and people actually bought it. So very, very weird indeed. Okay, it's kind of blocked at the bottom, but yeah, I did do rock crafting as well because since I did do expedition in maps, you do have rock currencies. So early on, all these amulets, rings, boots, all these, they actually sell for chaos and divines, like depending on the role. So I did make some extra money here. And also I was selling some of the compasses that I rolled on the previous days. So things like the 500% quantity of is an enraged strongbox sexton. Like although it didn't sell on like day 1, day 2, day 3, like day 4 was when it actually started selling at a higher price, right? It was like 20 chaos at the start and then it went up to around 50 if I'm not wrong. So yes, the blocked words is some of my compasses went up, then I started selling them again. Yeah. Okay, so day 4 is when I actually acquired my 2 apothecary cards. I bought them for around 30 to 35 divines, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty tired because I have been playing and sleeping for like 6 hours every day. So yeah, I did finish get my apothecary cards. At this point, I didn't make any character upgrades because it was already strong enough to clear content. So I just wanted to save all my money for apothecary cards. All right, so day 5, I was pretty tired of expedition, so I wanted to do something else. Um, there wasn't really too much that I could think of because once again, Legion really didn't have anything that I wanted to target farm since emblems were so cheap as well. So I decided to go with essences because I was strong enough after anointing Vengeance Cascade and swapping back to Lightning Arrow. So I could do possessed essences. This is the main thing, right? Not everyone is going to be able to do possessed essences. Even now, you may not be able to do possess like 7 essences. So yeah, I wanted to do a boss rushing strat because Conqueror maps were 30 something chaos each, and like all the Guardian maps were actually pretty expensive. So I wanted to do a small map to farm essences and scarabs fast. So I chose coves. Initially I did cemetery and marshes, but marshes is just a pretty bad layout. So I was just looking at what natural maps there were. So I decided to go with coves and tropical island ping pong. You know, like the classic favorite, half coves, half tropical island. And the thing is, coves can be rolled naturally with horizon ops, so you will never really run out of supply of coves. So coves is you clear the map faster, but not it's not as great for altars as compared to tropical island because tropical island is a linear map. You know, you get your altars along the way, and then yeah, coves is more of a ring, several sections of the map. So it is smaller, you clear it faster, but not so great for altars. So as always, altars are still great money. You know, regrets, sextants, chaos, all this. They are still worth money. Even now, they're still worth money. But although it was in hindsight, it sounded like a great idea. I thought I was making like 10 divines an hour, but I didn't really sell my essences because it's just a pain to sell essences, to be honest. In fact, the essences are still in my stash. I still haven't sold them. I sold Remnants of Corruption because I did use the Essence Compass. But I do have something to say about that. The compass, the Essence Compass makes it so that you have a 50% chance for the essence to contain a Remnant of Corruption. So this makes it so that you have a lot of Remnants of Corruption. But I realized that, oh wait, you can't actually corrupt like Envy, Dread, Misery, Scorn into the special essences, which means you're losing a lot of profit from the special essences because they're double-digit chaos each. So eventually I did swap the essence off. Like I stopped using the essence compass, and I just decided to run the maps with just the craft on the map device. So that's just something to take note of. If I were to do this again, I would not take the essence compass. But in terms of scarabs, I swapped the scarabs using Life Force to the more popular ones, and they still sold pretty fast, especially Expedition. Expedition went off really fast. So at the end of this strategy, I did acquire my third apothecary, and yeah, after that I took a short break for like 2 hours, showered, did a school presentation, and then at night, I decided, okay, since I already got my third apothecary, I only wanted to get one card today. Let's just have fun. So I decided to go TFT, and I bought a bunch of Val Temple maps for 16 chaos. I bought a total of 60 maps, I think, which actually is a sizable amount of money, right? 960 chaos is like 9 divines, I think, on that day, or is it less than that? Like around 8 to 9 divines. Okay, so at night I went for Val Temple. Um, so the thing about Val Temple is it's very RNG, whether you get good uniques and things like that. Um, but the good thing is that it drops a lot of maps. But here's the first problem, right? Bulk map selling on TFT. I mean, bulk map selling on trade was down. So you could not sell bulk maps on trade at all. So I really had to only rely on TFT to sell my maps. But luckily, people actually did buy my strand maps. And I did sell uncorrupted maps for I think 30 chaos a piece. 30 chaos for 10 maps, which is actually a pretty cheap price. But some guy actually bought like every single one, like 100 plus. So that was just a nice increase in chaos. All right, so here's another thing from my previous leaks. I know that the loot filter hides price of protection from your loot filter. But the thing is, price of protection, 5 cards gives you an elder map. And the thing is, there's so many cards that drop from this map. So I had to tweak my filter to review price of protection and also the Val Temple div card map, which is also hidden on like Uber Strict on Filter Blade, I think. Yeah, so I managed to turn in quite a few cards at the end of the night, and then I sold all the elder maps in bulk on TFT. So also, I did not sell any of the Conqueror maps, the Guardian maps from my Essence Scarab strategy. So I took all of those, I liquidated it, I sold I got a few sales here and there. And yeah, I just got more money. Vault Temple also dropped like random crafted unique, so I got like a +2 Aura Dialas, I got a Hrim Sorrow, Frenzy Charge, and +1 Socketed Gems, which still hasn't sold yet. I don't really know how to price that. The Dialas is still not sold yet. Also not sure how to price that. Here's the thing, I did manage to get a Divine Shrine, which is kind of insane, right? To have a Divine Shrine so early on, but the thing is I already cleared almost half the map. So only 9 Divines dropped, but it's definitely a welcome addition when you're starved of currency. So in the end, after liquidating everything, I was like, wow, I'm only this divines off, and then in the end I managed to get enough money to get my 4th apothecary card. So this was a lot faster than I thought. Okay, so now on to the last today, right? So day 6, I was like, okay, I already have 4 cards. Let's check the prices of apothecary. I checked it in the morning, it was 40 divines. I was like, oh my god, the inflation is hitting hard. Okay, I need to get this card as fast as I can. So I decided to, break out my trusty logbook farming, which I know will make money no matter what. Um, yeah, so logbooks, Tujen logbooks are still one of the best currency makers, especially in a league where you don't actually get any currency from the league mechanic. Um, at least you don't get it easily from the league mechanic. Okay, so I basically got all my divines from Tujen because he's the best, and he gives me. I got like 8 divines raw from Tujen. In the previous days, I also had a stack of 4 divines from Tujen just from doing expedition. Yeah. So today I obtained my last card, and I got my Mageblood. So this is just the overall like thoughts on this league and how I farm my Mageblood. So you probably have a lot more currency than you think you have. In fact, I haven't even sold any of my heist things yet. All the blueprints, all the contracts, they're still inside my heist locker. I have not sold any of those. So there's even more money that, is unrealized. Yeah, so when you're focusing on a specific goal, you tend to see everything as currency. So you should convert all your bubblegum currency into chaos, if you're really looking for it. I mean, except for, let's say, Scours and Elks that you need to use. Everything else, regrets, unmakings, you can all sell them for chaos, and they will add up. Even though it may not seem like much, they will add up. And yeah, influence maps, they will sell. You can always just go onto TFT. There are people who are always buying these maps. Sometimes they even buy it more than on trade side, right? Like Conqueror maps are 33 chaos, but they buy for 35 because it's bulk. Some things that you may not, actively think about, or you may have forgotten is like your Eldritch currency. If you're using uniques, you don't need to use them, so just sell it to other players because they're gonna go down in price anyways, right? So you might as well sell it now, get the chaos, and get stuff that you want. This is just a general tip, but you should always focus less on smaller sales as the league goes on, right? Like day one chaos is significant at like league start. You can get that one chaos, a few chaos here and there, and then you can buy like key uniques for your build. But once you actually have a proper strategy going, you know what you're farming, you can kind of quantify how much money you're going to earn in a map. That's when you need to stop, you know, picking up items for like 5C and then listing it, going out of your map, things like that. Because by the time that you do that, you probably could have like gone in and done like half a map already. So yeah, my threshold for what sales I do will decrease as the league goes on. So now it's like if it's a 10C item, 20C item, sometimes I don't even pick it up and list it for sale. It's also good to have dump tabs. Like my entire big dump tab, I just priced it at 5 chaos on the first day. And like the thing is, things sell, right? Even though you may not think that they sell, or they're not worth much. Sometimes if you pick up stuff, just throw it in a dump tab, which has just a general price, and things sell. Like for example, influence scouting reports. I sold like a stack of them for 50 chaos on day 1 or 2. Day 3? Yeah, one of the days, I can't remember. But yeah, it's like those things I will just keep and have it in my inventory like throughout the entire league because I don't use them, but someone else may have use for it. Alright, another thing is the market is quite important on what strategies are going to be profitable. Like I did not come into this league thinking that okay, I'm gonna do expedition or I'm gonna do essences and possess scarabs. I just decided, okay, let's just see what my build can do. Let's see what is expensive now. Usually, actually, yeah, that's pretty much it, right? Like I mentioned just now, logbooks and map expeditions. It really depends on which is expensive, and that determines on what I'll be farming. So yeah, character power is also quite important to get the farming going. So on the first few days, I would definitely invest all my money into like upgrading my character until it is strong enough to the point where it can clear content. I wouldn't say easily, but comfortably, right? Like I could have spent my money, I could have gotten a fractured +2 bow instead of getting an apothecary card, and then my character would be even stronger. But I wouldn't have a mage, but now if I did that. So yeah, items can go up and down in price. So when I bought Omni, it was like 15 divines. It went up to 26, 29 divines now. So if I resell that, that's gonna be very expensive. And some things went down. So like Inspired Learning went down. It was like 5 divines. Now it's like 2.5 divines. I expected it to stay around 4 to 5 divines for the first week, but I guess it's a relatively common jewel in the end game for people who are like MF farming things like that. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think this is a pretty long video. I'm surprised that I've spoke for so long already. If you have any questions to ask, you can always just leave them down in the comments. And kudos to you if you're actually still here listening to me talk about how I made money in PoE, a silly little game. Okay, so with that, uh, yeah, hope you get more money and get your mage blood soon. And that's all from me. Thank you for watching. A wet puddle. Bye bye.